first results, but there are already reports, Mark, particularly from the Trump campaign, that all is not well as regards the voting system. So I'm just wondering, Mark, what is the problem? We know that Trump has already talked about a rigged election. Is this what he's claiming?
Well, let's boil it down. Firstly, there's what's happened already today in Nevada, where the Trump camp filed legal action, claiming that there were polling stations that remained open after they were supposed to have closed, and that a demographic group favourable to the Democrats was able to vote. Now, a judge has thrown this out, but it could set the tone for the night. Donald Trump, he's somebody who's certainly not shy of litigating. That he's been involved, and his companies have been involved in 3,500 legal actions in the last 30 years. He's seen more people in court than Roger Federer. But what he's talking about when he's talking about a rigged system, it's not just the electoral system. He's talking about the establishment, the Washington establishment. And this is where Donald Trump is tapping into his supporters' own feelings, their own fears that they're being left aside by politicians in Washington. Donald Trump also is saying that the system is rigged and that the mainstream American media is against him, and he may well be right. He says the system is rigged. The FBI, for example, he said the system is rigged to protect Hillary Clinton. The FBI hasn't gone and investigated her, that it hasn't thrown her in jail already. So what Donald Trump is, when he talks about a rigged system, he's really echoing a feeling among his own supporters, like he's putting himself forward as a victim, just as his supporters put themselves forward as a victim of the establishment, although with perhaps more justification than Donald Trump.
Well, Mark, if he's already talking about contested elections and voting irregularities, what kind of impact is that going to have on his supporters? I mean, what kind of atmosphere will it create? Because if their candidate is already talking about a possibly fraudulent election, what reaction could we see at the end of it all from his agitated supporters? Well,
I think one thing that we may see is if it's a close contest, especially. Remember the year 2000 when George Bush beat Al Gore and it came down to fewer than 1,000 votes in Florida. That went to the Supreme Court, and we didn't have an official announcement of the result until December 12th. Now, we know that Donald Trump doesn't mind litigating, and we could see that we don't have an official announcement by Christmas. He could well make America wait again. But in terms of whether the supporters, if it could turn ugly, I don't think so. I've been speaking to most people I've been speaking to. They consider themselves Americans first and Democrats or Republicans second. I spoke yesterday in Times Square to the naked cowboy, who's a very, very big Trump fan. He's got Trump written on his underwear. And I asked him, what happens if Hillary Clinton wins this election? And he said, I'll continue to honor the flag and I'll continue to love America. And I think that's what we're going to see. This happens every 4 years, the election, and for a period of time, say 6 months, there's a lot of arguing. But after that, it's back to business as usual.
All right, Mark. Well, it certainly has been more hostile this time, I think, than most presidential elections. I'm just wondering, I saw Donald Trump voting earlier today. He said he seemed to be very confident. Is there any reason for that confidence? Is there anything in the early voting trends or in the turnout that would give him reason to be optimistic about tonight's result?
You do hear conflicting information about early voting. I'd seen that in North Carolina, that was a state won by Romney in 2012. He beat Obama quite comfortably, and that Hillary Clinton is behind where Obama was at the same stage 4 years ago, and that Donald Trump is in front of Romney. So maybe with the early voting, there are signs that he could be doing well in North Carolina, but it's really too early. I know that it's past midnight there and you want to go to bed, but we just have to be patient about this. It's those few hours where two very powerful people who are trying to become arguably the most powerful person in the world, have to sit there powerless. They can do nothing but wait, just like the rest of us.
Well, you are waiting patiently out in the street there. As we can see, the Trump campaign has ensured that foreign media are kept out of the inside of the Trump party headquarters. What's behind that, Mark, and what does it say about what we can expect of his treatment of the foreign media going forward?
It's not that the media is being kept out of the Trump election party. There's just a very, very limited number of places for the press, and especially the international media. So it's not that the journalists are being frozen out. Trump has decided to have a low-key affair, and according to one source in his campaign, this is because he is superstitious. Read into that what you will, but it's not that the international media is being frozen out. It just means that we have to stay here in the cold, although it is getting quite exciting. We had a pro-Trump rally just a few minutes, well, just before I came live to you, and they were standing right behind where I'm standing now. So things are getting lively now, so I'm glad I'm not in the cosy comfort of a convention centre, and that I'm out in the Manhattan streets.
Making the most of his circumstances. Thanks very much, Mark. We'll talk to you later, and to Stefan Grober as well, with all the latest. But for the moment, from both of us here, that's it for now.